members of the diplomatic corps, dear colleagues from the media, colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, ladies, and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. I welcome you all to Ministry of Foreign Affairs to celebrate International Women's Day 2023. The theme that the ministry has chosen to celebrate this year is celebrating women in diplomacy as trailblazers, as trendsetters, glass ceiling breakers, confident in our competence and in our abilities to represent our countries across the world. Without further ado, I would like to request Additional Secretary, Asia Pacific, Spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ms. Mumtaz Zahra Baloch, to deliver her welcome remarks.
Good afternoon and welcome to all our esteemed guests. Our Minister for State for Foreign Affairs, Hina Rabbani Kar, will be joining us shortly. I'll begin today's proceedings with a tribute to our former women ambassadors who are present amongst us. Ambassador Fozia Sana, Ambassador Nagmana Hashmi, and Ambassador Naila Chauhan is going to join us shortly as well. We understand there are traffic issues outside. And we welcome all women diplomats, spouses of diplomats in the diplomatic community who have joined us, and our male colleagues who are here to celebrate the Women's Day with us. Today, we celebrate women diplomats who have contributed to Pakistan's diplomacy, and especially our seniors, our former ambassadors, who were our trailblazers, who had the distinction of representing Pakistan and Pakistan's flag at home and across the world. To pay a tribute to their vigor, to their valiance, and to their leadership, we will begin with a short documentary. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite our host for the first panel discussion, Ms. Apsa Komal, a renowned television anchor, to join us on stage. I would also now like to invite our esteemed panelists, as I call their name, to join us on stage amidst your applause. Please welcome Her Excellency Farhana Zahir, High Commissioner of Republic of Maldives to Pakistan. Her Excellency Dr. Reena Kionka, Ambassador and Head of Delegation of European Union to Pakistan. Her Excellency Andrea Wick, Ambassador of Republic of Austria to Pakistan. Ms. Pan, Chargé d'Affaires, People's Republic of China. Ms. Maria, Chargé d'Affaires, Republic of the Philippines. Over to you, Apsa.
Am I audible? Okay. Very happy Women's Day to all of you, all the amazing ladies attending this, and of course, gentlemen also. I really appreciate Ministry of Foreign Affairs for this program today. We hardly see any women-inclusive offices or workplaces in Pakistan, but Ministry of Foreign Affairs makes us so proud when we see all the women actually leading this office. So I'm really honored to be conducting this session today. Without further ado, I would really like to start the discussion. As you know, we are celebrating Women in Diplomacy today, and I have with me, I'm very honored to have some of the best diplomats serving in Pakistan on the stage with me. We will talk about their journey, their extraordinary success stories, and you hear them talking about work, but you don't hear them talking about how it is being a woman and being a diplomat. So I'll try to cover all of that. I would like to start with the Excellency Farzana Zahir. Could you start with how you started, from where you started to here, sitting on one of the most senior diplomatic position? Sometimes when people look at diplomats, they look at the stronger side of them, but there's being a woman is also a very strong. It gives you, like, you know, the stronger side of your personality. But how was your journey from start to now?
Thank you so much. It's such a privilege to be here to converse with our audience here, mostly women diplomats. Well, about my journey, I've been working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for a long time now. Since '96, I've worked for over 22 years. I joined as a very junior employee at the Foreign Ministry, and I've worked hard. Maldives, as you know, is a very small country. We have only 17 diplomatic missions and 2 consulates, so overseas. And I've had the opportunity to be able to serve in Malaysia, and also at the permanent mission in New York. So I've been very privileged, and I've been very happy to be working and being able to continue as a diplomat through my career. Thank you.
Ambassador Reena, you enjoy a celebrity status in Pakistan, and that too very quickly. So I would really want to know, do you have a different story from where you started? You also have been a diplomat for more than 2 decades now. You have served for your country in Germany also, and around the world. Diplomacy, there's usually an idea that men have been promoting, not all men, but many men, that it is a job for the men. But you have been giving tough time to the opposite gender also. So how was the journey for you, Ambassador Reena?
Thank you very much, and let me join my colleagues in thanking the organizers, thanking MOFA for inviting to this panel discussion and this event. I think, you know, I started out as an academic, and then I became a diplomat for my own country, for Estonia. And that was not, I wasn't very, very young at that point. It was kind of mid-career. And so first I was an Estonian diplomat until Estonia joined the European Union in 2004. And after that, then I moved over to the EU side and you know, moved up the food chain, so to speak. when I was moving up, then there were very few women actually around, and so my career is littered with kind of you know, firsts. First being this, for the first female Estonian ambassador in Germany, the first chief diplomatic advisor to the EU, to an EU president, the first this, the first that, which means that there weren't a lot of role models at that point. So I had to be my kind of my own role model, and then you know that comes with a certain responsibility to those who come after us, and we can talk about that later. But yeah, I was very frequently the only woman in the room, and that's kind of an advantage if you're traveling and you're part of a delegation and you're the only woman, because when there's a break in the meeting and everybody's running to wash their hands, so to speak, then there's never a line at the ladies' room. Let's put it that way. But you know, if you look beyond the prosaic, then there is a certain responsibility to being the first in anything, because you're really kind of creating an image. You're creating a model of what a non-male diplomat looks like. And I think that's kind of what has characterized my career.
That's amazing. I also would like to mention that Hina Rabani Kar Saiba, Minister of Foreign Affairs, will join us very shortly. We will also have a session with her. I would like to move to Ambassador Andrea. Was it also, were you also the first one to do it, or was it different for you?
Yeah, first, thank you also from me shortly for the invitation. Yeah, I was also a first one, but in a different sense. We had many women diplomats before me. However, I was the first artist to join the foreign ministry, because we have a very conservative foreign service with very high-level entrance exams, and I was actually on stage as a singer and an actress, and after a few years, my husband and I decided that one of us has to do a proper job, and that was the only one I could imagine in my life. So I switched the jobs, and to this day, I'm actually the only one. So this was to be the first one experience, not so much to be a woman. But as a woman in diplomacy, my experience is that as diplomats, we have a strong protocol wherever we are, which brings us together easily, all cultures and countries. And this also helps men and women. So there's not much questioning who goes where. It doesn't matter, woman or man, you go on the right-hand side of your minister if you're number two, so everybody knows your position. So you have all these rules which help a lot. The hiccups only come, you know, with some protocol functions, not, you know, dinners and so, where to put the woman, you know, functional woman with some society's habits. This clashes with the position of women as women. So this is my hiccups I experienced. So otherwise, you know, I don't feel, you know, I've been growing up with brothers only, so I don't feel it very much to be a woman among men, because I'm very used to it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pang. Do you feel the gender difference of being a diplomat, or do you also don't see a difference in gender when you're professionally performing your duties?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you, MOFA, for organizing this event. And I'm very privileged to be invited here. So I think I joined this foreign service when I just graduated from the university as a very junior officer. And I think during my career, I learned a lot from my colleagues, both male diplomats and female diplomats. So I don't think there's much differences between male and female diplomats. Although as female, we have the society thinks that we should have more responsibility on the family side. So I think it's a challenge for us is to how to balance family and work. So, but I think now today we see many many female diplomats here, and they are very successful, like ambassadors here, and we have other also high-level female diplomats. I think all of us are doing good in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Maria. How was it for you? And also, I would really like to know about the international cultural transitions that you all, the diplomats, go through. So, how was it for you as compared to what the other panelists said before?
I have to say that I am an accidental diplomat because I got married when I was 20, and I went back to school after my son was 9 years old. And I thought, what am I going to do with my life? After fetching him from school and giving him his merienda, what am I going to do? So, but my husband, he was kind of traditional, said, stay at home. But my friends, when I saw my friends, I said, oh, I wanted to be a manager of a sugar mill. And I said, maybe I won't be able to become manager because you're all young. So my friends, they were the administrative manager, the finance manager, and all kinds of managers. So they told me the the human resource manager heard me say this, and so he told me, okay, so here is this piece of paper. Let us see if you will pass the exam. And the Department of Foreign Affairs then was already, there were already women in our Department of Foreign Affairs because the Philippines is in the forefront of women empowerment. So when I took the exam, I was just a number there. And it surprised me that I got a letter after several months informing me that I passed the exams. And so I did not tell my husband, but I said, okay, let's try. I'm going to, because we lived in another island, far from, about 3 hours from our capital city. So I flew there. I told my husband, because he was also in the capital city at that time for some business travel, and I told him, okay, I'll be there. And I thought it was there that I told him that I'm going to have an interview with the ministry. But I was already about 35 years old then, quite, late in going into the foreign service. But when I got the final response from the ministry, the department that I passed the exam, I said, this is an opportunity for me to do something about myself. And this is a chance for me. So if opportunity knocks at my door, I'm going to take it, or else somebody else will. So that's why I'm a diplomat today.
How amazing. High Commissioner Farzana, we have always been hearing that diplomacy, as I mentioned earlier, the kind of propaganda men, and not all men, but many men have been doing, that it is a field for men, and it has always been a male-dominated field. Where do you see women in diplomacy if we talk about next at least 10 to 15 years?
I think things are changing. It's changing quite fast, and I think every one of us here can realize that. But that is not to say that there are challenges. Women find it very, very hard to maintain the job as they go up in their career. What I would say is there are so specifically talking about diplomats, we require a lot of time. You need to invest a lot of your time to be a diplomat, and it also requires travel, which is not very normal for women to be, in our societies where there are specific stereotypical roles assigned to women, or what would you call social norms that inhibit women to be, spending hours at work, or then you see yourself being judged as a woman, as a mother, as a wife. All of these things happen. But I think things are changing, and there is a lot of hope. I think there is a lot of need for us to invest in having those policies and things devised so that women get that equal opportunity to be working alongside men in diplomacy as well. Because what we're talking about is we every day as diplomats, we discuss about human rights, we discuss about climate change, we discuss about peace and security. These are things that women are in fact impacted more so, as if I may say, when you see in the recent COVID-19 pandemic or even other crises, humanitarian crises. Women are disproportionately affected by these things, and we need women, even in diplomacy, alongside men to be making those decisions. So hopefully we will be able to make it, and we will. Yeah.
Great. We'll talk about that also. But Ambassador Reena, you've been visiting a lot of parts of Pakistan, the country. I would really want to know your impression about Pakistani women in general, and also Pakistani women in diplomacy that you've been dealing with in last few months that you've been here.
What I have seen of Pakistan so far, and it's not been that long really, so it's been 7 months, but I do feel like I've seen quite a bit and met a lot of people. I think that Pakistani women are incredibly resourceful, energetic. They can do anything. They can do anything if they're only given the chance, you know. and there are sectors of society where women do have the chance, but there are many that where it's much tougher. And so this is what I have noticed mainly about, you know, wherever I have traveled in rural areas. It's very, very difficult, I think, to you know, to be a woman who has ambition, who has certain dreams that she wants to fulfill. But it can be done too. One of my travels was I did this incredible road trip from Quetta to Karachi on the road. So we drove from one to the other and stopped halfway through in a small place called Hustar. And in Hustar, the European Union is financing some micro grants and kind of economic empowerment for a group of villages. And the kind of the help that that was given to women to start up small businesses like embroidery or this sort of thing, scarves, and the money that they brought home, these rural women with, you know, with a very low literacy rate in that part of the country, that was empowering in the village because they came home with some money in their pocket, and that meant that they had a voice in family affairs. They had a voice in the village affairs, and it was incredibly empowering to see all these women whose lives had completely changed in the last 3-4 years because of the possibility just to live out their dreams, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is one thing about women, you know, whatever happens in the house, inside the house, it's always women mostly calling the shots. So this is also like, you know, whoever observed the how things work here. Ambassador, High Commissioner Farzana was talking about more and more women in diplomacy and how it is now very important more than ever. Do you think there should be a network where women diplomats from around the world can gather, and there should be a network bringing them all together?
Yes. And there's nothing more to say to it than yes, because although I see that the men are sometimes suspicious, what are we doing in our women's clubs as diplomats? And so I can assure you, sometimes we are just talking kids and jewelry and anything, like you talk golf and cigars and whatever you are interested in. So this is, we are not doing any conspiracy, we are just women among ourselves. but nevertheless, I think it's a very worthy network because, as our colleague from the Maldives has very importantly said, we are facing a common problems for our whole of society, and we have to solve them together, as women and men sitting together. And I want to add two things, actually. One thing is that the Women's Day should be a day of the men, because that's my experience. I always had the support of my father, who passed away last year, unfortunately. But he gave me a lot of support in my life, very silent and quiet support. And the same goes for my brothers. They were always there. I didn't see them often because they were doing their own thing. But whenever I needed, they said, okay, you do it, why not? So go ahead, we are there. So we need your respect and your support. And that's my focus of Women's Day, is actually our brothers, our fathers, and our sons, to tell them that we need their respect for the work we are doing and the support. And the second remark I wanted to make with regard to the work, my experience is that if you find solutions, like I've been in the strategic department of our ministry also, so you sit together. And if there are only men, the atmosphere is different. And sometimes my colleagues ask me, please, Andrea, come. And I said, but I'm not good at that topic. Yeah, but we need ladies also in there, because it's more solution-oriented in a way. It's less about face saving. You know, we have our everybody has their problems. So it's a very constructive way to go further. And I think the planet doesn't leave us much time not to go ahead on this track.
Ambassador Pang, do you think there should be a common platform for women across the globe to connect? And I would like to mention now, there was a very strange situation where the Prime Minister of New Zealand and the Prime Minister of Finland, when they met, a reporter asked a very awkward question, which was very embarrassing for all of us to witness also. He asked them, what were you talking about? Were you gossiping about things or something? So they go, we were just discussing what Prime Ministers discuss. So did you ever face a situation like that? And also, do you also support the idea that there should be a platform where all the women, like they put forward all the women in diplomacy together?
I think we should have one. So, because I don't know whether there is one or not, but I think at least our formations here in Pakistan, we should have one. Because in that, I think we can make friends, exchange views, and in a easy atmosphere, not usually people think that diplomats, they are always in the meeting rooms, but I think we can have open mind in this regard. Maybe we can make friends from some easy ways. I think it's quite important for us to understand each other and to have a better understanding of each other. And you know that in China, we have a saying that women hold up half the sky. So I think that we can do more. And with unity, we can do even better. Thank you.
Ms. Maria, do you think if women join hands, women in diplomacy, they can do much more? And do you think there's a need for that right now?
I think we do. Because if there is a certain platform for women diplomats to exchange ideas, exchange experiences, this would be a way for us to also learn from those experiences and those ideas. Thank you.
So we are not taking no? But I would really want Ambassador Reena to give some closing remarks because as we are celebrating all the amazing achievements of women. So what would you like to? What is your message about this special day?
I'm sorry for resting away. I actually wanted to ask whether these last questions suggest that we might be hearing about an initiative from Pakistan to set up a kind of platform. Are we going to?
I'm going to ask Minister Hina Kar after this session. Thank you very much, Ambassador Reena Kionka, Ambassador Farzana Zahir, Ms. Andrea Vicky, Ms. Pang, and Ms. Maria Agnes. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure I'm very motivated after hearing you. So I'm sure all these diplomats, young diplomats sitting here in this in the room right now must be also very motivated after listening to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, esteemed panelists. I'm sure all of us here have gained a new perspective on what it is like life actually for a woman in diplomacy. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan's women diplomats have always shown remarkable resilience and leadership in representing Pakistan at the international stage. From Madam Shaista Ikramullah to Rana Liaquat Ali Khan to our top diplomats as the Prime Minister, as the Foreign Minister, as the Foreign Secretary, and as a spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, women have led all the way as leaders, as ambassadors in key capitals, including in the multilateral arena. This proud tradition is being carried forward by the women diplomats presently serving at the top, mid-career, and entry-level positions with full force. Next up, we have a video tribute to Pakistan's women in diplomacy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my immense pleasure to take today's proceedings forward with a fireside chat with Minister of State, Madam Hina Rabani Khar, who is also the host for today's event. It is also to be conducted by Ms. Apsa Komal. Madam, please join us on stage.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. I've been waiting for this one for a very long time. And I'm sure everybody in this room would really like to hear your story because me as a reporter, we have been covering your career, but we don't know the other side of your journey. You being a woman from Muzaffargarh to Lahore and to Amherst. How was the journey for you? And then back to Pakistani politics. You took a long break, and now you're the state minister. How was your journey? This side of your journey or your life, I'm sure not many people know, so they would really like to know today.
And there's a good reason for that. I hate to talk about my real life, so to speak. But yeah, I think, you know, a lot of times you want to put things in one box or the other and try and build it around the narrative shaping which is in vogue those days. I do not like that because I think it's important to be able to remain real in whoever you are and whatever you're able to do. And I think I guard my privacy of my family, myself, my children. Many a times, I mean, I've had occasions where I would be interviewed in my study at the home by someone, and my children would be at the door saying, please take my name, take my name. They like to be known. I'd rather let them be unknown. Yeah, so for me, I think I have to first of all recognize, and many a times I have come into trouble for saying that, but I do come from a very privileged background, right? So all the typical struggles that you see of women, I wish, you know, I don't think I wish that, but I would absolutely not take that, you know, and try and imagine or pretend that I've struggled through because I was a woman. Frankly speaking, I was born in a privileged house, not because of the privilege of being born in that house, but for the privilege of having a father like mine, who really, from the most traditional types of conservative, typically families where no woman, I mean, my dadi, when a plane would fly over, would be asked to go inside because of parda. Okay, and before my father passed away last year, I was not only allowed to go to the base camp of K2, which he was very, very, sort of not very, he was a nervous person, so it was not easy for him to allow me to do that. Allowed me to play polo. So in my personal life, much before I came into politics, all the things which were not done by a girl, when I wanted to do them, he allowed you to do it. But I mean, today one of my sisters is the sole farm manager on the field with her boots on. So really, I can't really pretend. I've been very privileged by the parents that I've had.
But Madam Minister, did the privilege help with the cultural norms that you break? We have not seen many women on these kind of powerful positions in at least this country.
But we also have. I mean, there's Benazir Bhutto, there's Fatma
course, of
Jinnah.
course.
I mean, right from the beginning.
These
So I think,
exceptions.
yes, absolutely. So I think leadership roles we've seen a lot in the South Asian context, and each of them have earned it, not only by way of where they were born, but they have struggled through. I mean, if you look at Muhtarama Benazir Bhutto, it's not about where she was born only, but the struggle that she did for democracy, I think, has to be celebrated all over the world and is celebrated all over the world. But as far as the cultural norms are concerned, I mean, I have to say, in some level, I thought that I was always expected to be half good. So I always got more because people thought, oh, she knows her stuff, right? So never like that. But really, I think where people do really struggle is mid-career, when they're not the boss, right? When they have to work for bosses who are not as, you know, open-minded or may have, I think that's who we work for. That's the type of women that we work for, to break those glass ceilings. And in many ways, I am very proud to say that Pakistan, in many, many ways, women have taken their space when they haven't been handed it out, right? I mean, we see the plethora of news, information, narrative shaping around Women March. There are people who believe that them marching is almost antagonistic to Pakistan's culture, which is completely ridiculous to in any way. So all of these things will remain. But I think by bits, when you take your space, as you know, when we sit in this office, your gender should not matter. I like to believe it does not matter when we sit in the offices, because then we're all professionals. But we all know that sometimes it does matter. And it's for those that you make the laws and I'm very proud to say, for instance, I got the statistics recently that when you look at, I mean, last posting plan that we did, we sent, I think, about 5 or 6 ambassadors. This new posting plan, which is in the offing, we're sending another 6 to 7, some of them to Africa. And we said, because if they're women, doesn't mean they only go to Europe. Actually, most of them to Africa, right? So it's quite interesting that way. And also very proud to say that since 2010, when I first became foreign minister to now, the number of Pakistani women diplomats has actually doubled. Now, you may not be seeing them at the highest echelons of the hierarchy, but what it means is that in 15 years, you will be seeing perhaps far more women diplomats who are visible because they're now ambassadorial rank.
That's amazing. 15 years, that's just a great time frame you're giving us, and some hope also. You made it, there's a credit to you also, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, after you took charge, we're seeing a lot of women here. So how do you inspire your the colleagues and women, especially young women in diplomacy?
I think, okay, first of all, I can't take all the credit for it. I mean, the foreign minister has to be given credit for the public diplomacy team that you see over there, really, because he was very, very keen that we should have women in public diplomacy and that our spokesperson must be a woman. And it's not she must be a woman, she is a very qualified woman, therefore she is there, right? And we have an entire public diplomacy team today which is all women. I think that credit has to be shared. But going forward, I think what we hope to see is you know, them being treated for gender never to come in the way. For instance, one of the most, you know, one of the things that I heard, which I got back to our admin and said, if this happened, I have a serious problem with it. One young woman once told me that because I was expecting, I was told, oh, we can't send you to this station and to that. I said, that's her choice, whether she thinks she can perform there or not. So, you know, there will always be little problems around. And I don't think you really, you know, do a job to inspire people, but you inspire them on the way. I mean, for instance, for me, one of the most inspirational, because I don't like to play this role of, oh, I'm inspiring so many people. Once, you know, I was visiting some people in the village, around our village, and it was a very well-to-do family, a very well-known family, and the lady over there said to me, she said, do you know, ever since you entered politics, in our houses, girls would never be sent for education. She said, but ever since you entered, and they say if one daughter of Muzaffargarh can do it, others have to. So they say now our men are very keen that our daughters should be educated because they see your example. So if on the way you inspire some people, great, go ahead. Yeah.
That's amazing. And could you name some women leaders who inspired you in your journey?
Again, I think living in Pakistan, I think Benazir Bhutto will have to be one of them, right? Because I think she really struggled. And I don't like to say more than a man because I don't think the comparison is, because why should a woman be any less than a man to be more than a man? But yes, I think their leaders within Pakistan, I think that would certainly be the leader that has inspired me.
And contributions of women diplomats, we also saw it was mentioned about the other women diplomats who did they have amazing achievements on their credit. But would you like to mention some of the achievement that paved the way for other female diplomats also?
I think some of them are sitting over here. You know, we have really now retired, but absolutely phenomenal women who have led at ambassadorial ranks and others. Tehmeena Janjua came in as Foreign Secretary. I was particularly pleased about that because it's another thing to have political leadership, which is a woman, which is in Pakistan more common, but when somebody from the institution comes and you know, leads the entire institution. And allow me to say, I think this is a secret I can share with you. I think women can get away with far more than men can in being able to do some plain speaking, truth telling, okay? And this is a very loaded fragment of a sentence I've just given you.
So why they say women are not good diplomats? They just kind of get emotional and say just anything?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think women, I mean, to be honest, I think conducted meetings and having, you know, been part of far too many meetings to remember in my lifetime, but I think women are absolutely, I think one thing women are naturally good at, because you see, I can be here, but I'm still, my staff will still be calling, and sometimes I complain to my husband about it. Why am I being called to say the children, you know, somebody cannot reach on time or etc.? Because you still have to manage your other role, which is the full-time job, no matter where you are in the world, right? So one thing we get very good at is time management. So I notice if I'm conducting a meeting, I'm looking at the time and thinking, okay, 15 minutes passed, we still haven't gotten to the, to the answers that we're seeking in this meeting is not going, let's divert, etc. So I think absolutely not. I think women are top-class diplomats. And as I say, I don't like to divide it into this, us versus them. There are men who are top-class diplomats, there are women who are top-class. There are women who are not such good diplomats, there are men who are not such good diplomats.
It's not about gender for you.
Absolutely not. I mean,
what is your message for young diplomats, young women diplomats who are just entering the field and knowing the ground realities? Of course, you elaborated very well about your privileges and how you went through it. But situation is different from when women come from different parts in this country. So, what is your message for them?
Okay, my message for them is to not get bogged down by circumstances around them, okay? Because I think it's when you enter any field, whether it's a bank or a patwari's office or a law office, there will be seniors, you will feel inhibited, right? But you come from good learning. I think they all come from mostly very good schools, good learning, and you put them through the Foreign Service Academy also. And it's very easy to lose heart very quickly as, oh, I can't do anything, right? And to not become a second-hander. And give me 1 minute to explain that, right? I think if there's one advice I can give to everyone, it is do not become second-hander. And this is a word or two words that I borrow from Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead, which talks about how they're either second-handers who are living up to people's expectations and within the pretext of whatever is the boundaries which have been. And there are what you can call first-handers who have their own expectations to fulfill. Because, if I were to look at myself and allow myself to say, yes, it's okay, everybody is doing this around me, it's fine, I will also do this much wrongdoing because people are doing so much more, etc., we can all slip, we do all slip. I think the entity that we have to always be careful of never disappointing is ourselves, our standards of ourselves. So when we start becoming a second-hander, where we start wanting to live up to the expectations and wanting wah-wah and wanting good things to be written about us, then we fall prey to narratives and not that. And because you will not ask me work questions, let me say one thing, yeah? Because I will share with you one experience. I was in the United Nations General Assembly sideline meeting of feminist diplomacy, right? Feminism and feminist foreign policy, they said. And this is right at right after the floods were still sort of happening. And this was being led by Germany, at the time, the German foreign minister. And I was also in one of the sort of partial speakers there. And I said to them that, listen, to me, whether you call your foreign policy feminist or not does not matter. To me, a feminist foreign policy is one where the real foreign policy is able to change, to deal with or to respond to challenges which are women specific. And I would give you an example. At that time when the floods were hit, there were 600,000 women who were on the way to have a child, who did not have not only the shelter of their home, but not also the shelter of tents. So I asked the question that countries which profess to have feminist foreign policy, is their climate change policy going to change because of this reality? If the answer to that is no, then we can call our foreign policy whatever it is, but the foreign policy doesn't change. In the very same way, as I was leaving in the morning, I saw that European Union, for instance, yesterday announced that violence against women would be sanctionable. And the first thing I did, as someone who's been trained well by now, was to look at who were the 9 entities who had been sanctioned. And they all came from countries such as Afghanistan and Burma and Syria and Russia, where countries which are, and perhaps one more, yeah, and these are all countries which are politically also on the wrong side. I would think it to be real policy when countries which are currently on the right side, such as India, for instance, what they were doing in Kashmir on violence on women was also on the list. And I'm not saying this as an India-Pakistan problem. I'm just saying that universality of the application of law and value system, and when it is hitting those who we consider to be our friends, but is still in the list, would be a far bigger message to women all over the world today than ones which are still, always on our wrong side.
We can take one question if anybody has a question. If anybody in the audience wants to ask.
Either I must be very boring or the audience is very...
Thank you. I'm Susanna Butler from International Organization for Migration, and would like to ask a question that was triggered a little bit with the first panel discussion, but some of your comments along the line of what it is that we need or value as a support in our journey, especially the professional one. And very often references were made to husbands and brothers and male figures in our life. And I would like to ask you about your experience with your female colleagues, whether they were part of your personal life or your professional life. When did you feel and how supported by women, or maybe where you didn't feel as supported by other women? Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I have to say that might be true, but on the first half, I do want to comment, because I think sometimes we feel that wherever we are on a cultural landscape, that open resistance to it is the way to break free or to move forward, right? I really when I look at my past life, there were times when I was, for instance, not allowed to go out into the fields which I owned because I was my father's daughter and because others could go. And we broke those barriers slowly as we gained space, right? But I never held it against the cultural reality of being born in a certain country or place. In the same way, as you were saying this, I just realized I just mentioned my father because I was always my father's daughter much more than, and I have other sisters who are my mother's. But if my mother wasn't there to shape us in the way she did, I would not exist, certainly not in this office, or maybe not even be, have gone through the education that I had. So I think the influences are always there. But within the political landscape, absolutely, I think women have been a massive show of strength and supportive. I can tell you, I was outside, I think I was traveling somewhere for work, and I was attacked on a certain thing in Parliament. The next day I see Twitter feeds filled with, Mariam Aurangzeb, who happens to be from another party, Sherry Rahman, who happens to be from within my party, Shazia Mari, who happens to be from within my party. Each one of them come up to my defense, and none of them made the call to tell me, you were being attacked and we defended you. They all thought it was what they needed to do. So that's always there. I am also very proud of the fact, the life that I don't like people to know much about, but so interestingly, when I entered, 2002 was when I entered politics. That was also when I set up my business, because I thought either one of them would work. Both of them worked, actually. So, and my business partner happens to be my best friend, somebody I can call a sister, a woman who is far more, I mean, she may not be in the news as much as I am, but far more of a worker and a strong, presence in my life. So I think, but again, I think I don't like to separate our lives between genders. I think we can have very good female support, we can have very good male support, but it always. And one thing I think that, because this is slightly personal, I think it also clearly depends on the support that we have, which we don't celebrate, right? For instance, the person who's a woman who looks after my children while I'm all over the world is perhaps one person who I couldn't have done anything without. My husband, for instance, is someone who who had a problem when his sisters decided to change their surnames, and therefore it was much more than fine when I decided not to change my surname because my identity is with my own name. So there's so many people in our life who make us who we are, whether you're a woman or a man. There are so many people so I don't like to break the world between two clean genders. I think all of us contribute to being who we become.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. Major takeaway for me from this discussion was that women need to claim their space, no matter how slow it is, but steadily. I think we can always achieve our goals. Thank you very much, Minister Inarbani Kar Sahiba, and everybody who attended the session today. Very happy Women's Day to all of you. Let's keep celebrating all day and all year. Thank you very much.
So may I just say something? I hope all of you women diplomats over there have noticed a little bit of a difference in how the Foreign Office is reorienting itself. A little bit, because we thought, how should we go about it? So we thought, okay, typically we have the speeches, etc. So we said, no, all the women team. We said, no, let's have a slightly different, let's give a chance. We don't know what anyone would say. but let's be open and be able to have discussion rather than just speeches. And as we were second here, I'm not taking a bit at the Foreign Secretary, but he said, it would have been a good idea had we a micro-mentary, you call it, on women diplomats. And I said, Foreign Secretary, your very able public diplomacy team has already done that for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, madam. Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to welcome Federal Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Madam Shahira Shahid, who has just joined us. Thank you, madam, for taking time out from this busy schedule and joining us towards the end of this event. This brings us to the conclusion, but before we conclude, I would like to request your patience and draw your attention back to the screen because we missed out on the last part of our micromentary because we were running short on time. So we would now like to play it for you.
To all the beautiful, talented, and hardworking women,
You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody.
bravo to your sterling contribution and keep it up. Happy International Women's Day to all of you.
All the strong, talented, and simply wonderful women.
Wish you all a happy Women's Day.
On this occasion, I congratulate all women across the globe.
Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them.
Happy Women's Day.
This was the last part we really wanted to share, as these are messages from our heads of missions who are women all across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. A very happy International Women's Day to all of you, as all of us together vow to embrace equity. Please do join us for refreshments. Thank you very much for your patient listening.